Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is on every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Watch live on YouTube and make sure to subscribe. Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is presented by Raymond Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
Whether you're hosting a corporate event, wedding, conference, concert, or any other special gathering, our comprehensive range of services will exceed your expectations and elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
We've got the experience, the passion, and the beach to make your event a smash hit. Whether it's a romantic wedding, a lively sports venue, or a rocking high school dance, Troutland Entertainment has you covered. Contact them at 330-414-4261 or email them at troutlandent@gmail.com. That's troutlandent@gmail.com. Elevate your brand with Mako Custom Printing. Mako Custom Printing specializes in creating high-quality spiritware, corporate apparel, and promotional products that make your brand stand out. Whether you need custom printing, graphic design, or an online store for your school or business, we've got you covered. Make a statement with Mako Custom Printing. Visit us at mako.com to start your custom printing journey today. That's MEHCO.com.
Welcome, everybody, to Sports on Tap. This is make sure you send those to Sports on Tap Podcast at gmail.com. My name is Ed Dick, alongside Rob Troutman, Noah Jacobson, Sean Duffy. Josh Jeffy is out on assignment again. A very important assignment for those of you who live in the city of Brunswick. So some pretty major stuff going on with our youth group, one of the youth sports organizations here. We're not a political show. We're not going to get into that. We got plenty to talk about with Week 8 of the high school football season. We are getting very, very close to really putting a lot of clicks on joeidle.com. I've already started doing some of the groundwork for what I am anticipating to be a very joeidle.com related show next week as we prepare for the last week of the regular season. We will be going over the scores for the Greater Cleveland Conference, the Southwestern Conference, the Suburban League, and the Cleveland West Conference. We were at multiple games this week. So we have a full slate for you, and we are also going to be joined by record-setting running back, junior Casey Myser from the Highland Hornets, by special request from Sean Duffy. He wanted him, we got him. So we will be talking to Casey Myser here in a little bit as well. And of course, we'll go through our player, Raymond Fountain State Farm Player of the Week poll a little bit later on in the show. All right, let's get to it here. We will, as well as always, we start with the Southwestern Conference. I do one more plug. The Week 8 Power 10 will be coming out later this week. Quite honestly, the top 5 teams haven't changed because they haven't lost, so that's pretty easy. But the 6 through 10 through bubble range, that's starting to get a little sticky because some teams that were ranked a little bit higher prior to this week lost to some teams that were lower. So it's quite honestly, we're still working on reconciling how that's going to look. But the top 5 teams, they haven't lost, and spoiler alert, I don't have a reason to change them. So that's where we're at. But you'll get to see the rest of it here later this week on our Twitter page at SOT Podcast. Rob, let's start with the Southwestern Conference. Take it away.
All right, thanks, Ed. Appreciate that. And let's first start with Avon taking on Midview. And the Eagles, they just continue to roll in the Southwestern Conference, and they started quick in this game once again. It seems like the MO for Avon is to start quick. They scored on 4 out of their first 5 drives in this game. Avon running back Tyler Kaufman, he would score first. Then it was Nolan Good to wide receiver Matt Maxey. It was 14-0 early. Midview would respond, though, as quarterback Cody Martin would connect on a 50-yard pass to wide receiver Dior Jones, who's having a great year for the Middies. Avon, though, they would score 35 unanswered in this game. And the Eagles quarterback, Nolan Good, he had 216 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. It was wide receiver Matt Maxey. He had 126 yards and 2 touchdowns. Running back Tyler Kaufman, 77 yards and 2 touchdowns. For Midview, not too much rushing in this one. Give credit to the Avon Eagles defense. They were really tough stopping that run game. But it was quarterback Casey Martin. He had 126 yards passing and a touchdown. And Avon wins big in this one, 49-10. Avon now stays undefeated at 8-0, 5-0 in conference. Midview falls to 4-4, 1-4. It's the 25th straight Southwestern Conference victory and 9th straight over the Middies for the Avon Eagles. That from the Chronicle Telegram. Make sure you go check them out. They do a great job with all their coverage. So again, Avon 49-10 winners. North Ridgeville traveling to Berea Mid-Park, and the Rangers, they found a rhythm early, and this one was a crazy game. Cole Miller, he found Charlie Steinmetz for a 19-yard touchdown early in the first quarter. They would again connect on another touchdown Cole Miller and Steinmetz, this time from 23 yards. It was 14-0 North Ridgeville, and you'd think, man, the Rangers, they're going to run away with this one. Well, they did at first. The Rangers, they would score again with running back Zach Barnhart touchdown. It was 21-0 in the second quarter, and the Titans, they didn't really give up in this one and eventually would grab some momentum as senior running back Justin McConnell went 71 yards for the first Berea Mid-Park touchdown, and then Berea Mid-Park's offense got 2 big touchdowns before halftime, cutting the lead to 28-20. The Titans quarterback Danny Bowser, then he would find wide receiver Jariah Haynes from 32 yards out, and Bowser again connected with Haynes before half. And after half, it was Tyson Clay who took a kick 99 yards, and all of a sudden this game was 28-27 in the second half. And that's when North Ridgeville really relied on running back Zach Barnhart, who controlled the offense, and really the Ridgeville offensive line took control as well. In a game that went back and forth really in the whole second half, the Rangers, they would hold on in this one, 42-33, as Zach Barnhart had 253 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. For the Titans, it was quarterback Danny Bowser. He threw for 290 yards and 3 touchdowns. Again, a big win as North Ridgeville improves to 7-1, 4-1 in conference. Berea Mid-Park 1-7, 0-5. Ridgeville 42-33 winner. Okay, now going to Elyria as they take on Amherst, or actually they hosted Amherst, and in this one, it was a tough game, really, for the Pioneers, but they hung close early on as J.R. Byers would score first for Amherst. He would score twice in the first quarter, but it was Elyria getting on the board after the first score. It was Lex Bruner with a field goal. It was 14-3 after one quarter, but then Amherst really ran away with this one in the second quarter. It was 42-3 at halftime. Elyria would score, though, in the fourth quarter, as it was Levi Springer from Antonio Pride, 56 yards. Amherst in this game, 363 yards rushing. It was Amherst winning 44-10 in this one. J.R. Byers, 204 yards and 2 touchdowns. Cole Norris rushed for 90 yards and a touchdown. And touchdowns by Lippis and Giles also for Amherst. It's Elyria falling to 0-8, 0-5. Amherst 6-2, 3-2 after they dropped 2 games. They're back in the win column there. All right, big game here. Olmsted Falls and Avon Lake. And this game was impressive as Olmsted Falls, really in this game, it kind of went back and forth. But this had this was one game you would want to play back. It was a replay game because it had everything from lots of offense, had defensive stands, some big plays at crucial moments. In Olmsted Falls, they actually found themselves down at halftime. It was 27-17. Avon Lake had the lead. And in the second half, the Bulldogs came out and outscored the Shoremen 23-10 in the second half. And that included the 2 overtimes that this game would go into. It was Owen Singleton for Olmsted Falls. He forced overtime by scoring with 17 seconds left. And then in the first overtime, Owen Singleton would score. And for the Shoremen, they answered with wide receiver Aiden Stewart. Then in the second overtime, Coach Kostelnik, instead of kicking the field goal, he went for a keeper, and they came up a little bit short. So then Olmsted Falls would get the ball back. They would score with quarterback Jimmy Rossell for the win. It was 43-37 in 2 overtimes is your final score in this one. For Avon Lake, it was running back Alex Kowalski. He ran for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. Quarterback Alex A. Falter, 114 yards and 2 touchdowns. For Olmsted Falls, quarterback Jimmy Rossell, he rushed for 158 yards. He rushed for 158 yards. He passed for another 108 and 2 touchdowns. He was the Southwestern Conference Player of the Week with that performance, and such a huge game and comeback for them. Great game, though, really by both teams. And again, the Bulldogs, they escape and outlast the Shoremen in this one, 43-37. Olmsted Falls improves to 6-2, 3-2 in conference. As Avon Lake, they fall to 5-3, 3-2. But both teams really played outstanding ball, and that is the Southwestern Conference here in Week 8. The Southwestern Conference Player of the Week I just told you about, Olmsted Falls quarterback Jimmy Rossell, rushed for 158 and a touchdown, passed for another 106 and a touchdown. He totaled 264 total yards and 2 touchdowns, and it was a two overtimes to get past the Shoremen of Avon Lake. Let's take a look at Week 9 in the Southwestern Conference. That features some really good games. Amherst, who put up 28 on Avon last year, they'll take on Avon at home this year for the Eagles, and they're going to be a tough one. They're pretty strong this year. Avon Lake taking on North Ridgeville. That should be a really good game that could go either way. Berea Mid Park and Olmsted Falls, another rivalry game down the street, and Midview and Elyria for Week 9. So that's the Southwestern Conference here for Week 8 and 9. Some impressive games. The Avon Lake and Olmsted Falls game I thought would be a close game. I didn't know it would be that close. Olmsted Falls looked like they were going to get dominated, and they didn't give up. And Coach Kostelnik thought with momentum on their side that they needed a score there, which you can't blame the coach for doing that. He had a good feeling about, but some really great games there in Week 8.
I was following the Olmsted Falls and Avon Lake game as well, and at a certain point it was 30-20, I believe, and I figured Avon Lake, like, all right, well, it was a good one there. I was talking with one of my friends who I had mentioned earlier on the show. His father went to Olmsted Falls, so I usually keep him updated on that. And lo and behold, later in the night, Olmsted Falls came back on that one. Obviously, no quit, and really any team in the conference. But that game was, probably far and away the best game of the week. Obviously, just by the score. As you mentioned, Amherst just continuing on what they're doing, and tell you what, that's good to get some momentum, get to see the end zone a lot of times before they come up against the juggernaut that is Avon. As you mentioned, they were able to score about 28 points last year on them, and that was with the team that, quite honestly, wasn't as successful as they are this year. But what do you think is going to happen this year for Amherst to keep it as close as they possibly can against the best team in the area, quite honestly?
Well, there's Peanut. Yeah, that's the famous Peanut. But I think Amherst needs to really establish their run game and have some success and take some drives and take some time off the clock. Because once Avon touches the ball, they have an explosive offense, and they're really gonna score some points. So if Amherst can score some points, get some solid drives and some momentum and take some time off the clock, I think they have a shot. But Avon's just so deep. What are they going to do to wear out that Amherst team? Hopefully it stays nice outside, because I know the last time I covered Amherst, it was rainy with Avon Lake, and they eventually mounted a comeback, but those were pretty sloppy conditions. So Amherst, they just need to get some good drives. And obviously, you got to play a little defense against Avon and maybe get them to punt a few times, because I'd be interested to see how many times that team has punted this year. I'm going to say it's probably not very much, but last year, they gave them a little bit of a fit in the first half, and then they wore them down in the second. So let's see what they can do this year.
Absolutely. Along with some of the other games, you have the rivalry game between Berea Mid Park and Olmsted Falls. Obviously, the records don't matter in that game. We have Midview and Elyria. Certainly no slouch game there. And then North Ridgeville and Avon Lake. I think that's the other major game going on here when it comes to computer points. Two teams that are 7-1 North Ridgeville, 5-3 Avon Lake. But Avon Lake's losses, again, obviously to a very good Olmsted Falls team, to a good Benedictine team, and a good Chardon team. So it's not like Avon Lake has lost to teams that they shouldn't have lost to. They've got some, if you want to call them good losses, they got some good losses on their schedule. There's that game is going to be a knockdown, drag-out affair. And I'm with you, Rob, for the benefit of everybody this week. Obviously, the better the weather, the better the football. Keeps every team on as a level playing field as possible. So we'll get more in next week when we go through. We'll go a lot through. We'll definitely go through Division 2, Region 6, where most of the Southwestern Conference lies. They also got some influence in Division 1, Region 1, and Division 3, Region 10. All right, Rob, great work as always. Let's with that, let's shift over to Noah Jacobson with the Greater Cleveland Conference. Take it away, Noah.
All right, well, thank you, Ed. And we begin Week 8 in the Greater Cleveland Conference as Strongsville was taking on Shaker Heights. This was a game that was being played on a Thursday night. And the game was played as Strongsville will put up 50 points against Shaker Heights as they would take the 50-0 shutout win over the Red Raiders. Kendrick Bodie for the running back for Strongsville, he had 11 carries for 120 yards and a touchdown. Nolan Beard found Will Dasher for a 51-yard touchdown. And then my player of the week last week in the GCC, JJ Pleasant, he would yet have another punt return touchdown in this game. He's got 3 in 2 weeks. Running back Sam Demakia had a 37-yard touchdown from Nolan Beard. Austin Atkins had a fumble recovery for a touchdown. And they really give Strongsville's defense a lot of credit. Braylon Daly and Storm Miller and the rest of the defense really shut down the Red Raiders to minus 15 yards in the first half. That's a big credit to Coach Trustig's defense, as his defense preserved a 50-0 shutout win over the Red Raiders to give Strongsville their 4th straight win, to moving them to 5-3. They are undefeated at 4-0 in the GCC. Shaker Heights drops to 2-6. They dropped to 0-4 in the GCC. And then moving forward, Euclid was taking on the Royals of Erie, Pennsylvania, and a game was played in this one as the Royals would beat the Panthers 22-0 as Euclid drops to 2-6, 1-3 in conference play. And then Metter, they were traveling down to Brunswick in this one, and yet another game was played in this one as Metter would go on the road to beat the Blue Devils. Metter quarterback Scotty Fox was 21-26 for 256 yards and 3 touchdowns. Running back Jackson Farley had 18 carries for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns. Running back Dominic Birds had 6 carries for 79 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Austin Van Hutch had 8 catches for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. Marcus Serpatowski had 5 catches for 59 yards and a touchdown. And then kicker Dylan Tackett had a 33-yard field goal in this game for the Cardinals. Brunswick quarterback Sean Barnett was 11-25 for 133 yards and a touchdown. He also did have 7 carries for 41 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Hayden Swarm had 8 catches for 126 yards and a touchdown, as Menor would still stay undefeated at 8-0 to beat the Brunswick Blue Devils 45-14. Menor improves to 8-0, still undefeated in conference play at 4-0. Brunswick drops to 3-5, 3-2 in conference play. And then my game of the week in the GCC, it was a playoff rematch last year in the regional semifinals last year in Avon and Strongsville. What a great game that was. As Cleveland Heights would be taking on Medina, and another game was played in this one, folks, as Cleveland Heights would jump out to a 7-0 start with 3:52 in the first quarter as Marquise Davis, what a night he had, folks, as he would score his second touchdown of the game coming in at 10:56 in the second quarter to give the Tigers a 14-0 lead. And then he would score again at 9:37 in the second quarter to give them a 20-0 lead. And yet 5 minutes later, he would score again to give them a 28-0 lead. And then give Elijah Harris a lot of credit. I was his player of the week nominee a few weeks back, as he had 2 touchdowns in this game coming in at 2:17 in the second quarter to give him the 35-0 lead. And yet he would score again with 7 seconds left to go in the game to give them a 44-0 victory over the Medina Bees. Give Cleveland Heights' defense a lot of credit. They held Medina to a few drives, which really gave Marquise Davis and Elijah Harris a lot of running room to give them a couple of touchdowns in this game, as Cleveland Heights will go on the road to defeat Medina 44-0 in this game. Cleveland Heights quarterback Justin Godbold was a 9 of 11 for 112 yards in this game. And then Marquise Stewart Davis had 19 carries for 165 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then freshman running back Elijah Harris had 15 carries for 62 yards and 2 touchdowns. Medina quarterback Jason DiUlio was 6 of 15 for 33 yards. He also did have 4 carries for 29 yards. And that wide receiver Max Myers had 4 catches for 28 yards. As Cleveland Heights will go on the road to defeat Medina 44-0. Cleveland Heights improves to 4-4, 2-2 in conference play. Medina drops to 2-6, 1-4 in conference play. And I also did talk to Coach Stevens and then his 2-star running backs, Elijah Harris and Marquise Davis. You can check that out at our YouTube page and at our channel at sportsontapodcast.com. And then moving forward to week 9 in the Greater Cleveland Conference in our schedule, Wells Jesuit will be taking on Brunswick. Cleveland Heights will be traveling to Euclid. Medina will be traveling to Shaker Heights. And then the big one in the GCC, a battle of 2 teams that are both at 4-0 in conference play. Strongsville and Menor, what a great game that's going to be. Coach Trusting against Coach Gray. My player of the week nominee in the Greater Cleveland Conference is Menor Cardinals quarterback Scotty Fox. He was 21-26 for 256 yards and 3 touchdowns. And that is the Week 8 recap of the GCC and Week 9 schedule in the GCC.
Noah, great work as always. As you mentioned, the big game, between Menor and Strongsville, this game will be for a share of the Greater Cleveland Conference Championship. So that the winner of that's going to clinch at least a share in Week 9. Obviously subject to what's going on in Week 10. But we know what Menor's been capable of all year. Scotty Fox and Coach Gray, they really have those Cardinals. We're used to seeing them. They're scoring a lot of points, and when they score a lot of points, that allows their defense to play loose, and they can really attack the quarterback and kind of pin their ears back a little bit there. What does Strong's will need to do to be able to match Menor and try to get a win out of this?
Well, I think for Strongsville, I think it's going to have to be coming down to how can Storm Miller and that defense really attack Scotty Fox and the high-powered Cardinals offense. And I really think that's going to be the biggest key to the game going into that game Friday night is how can Storm Miller and the Mustangs defense can play that Mustang tough defense like I saw in Week 3 and Week 6. That is possibly going to be the biggest key going into that game, I feel like, if they want to beat the Menor Cardinals on the road.
And beating Menor on the road is certainly no small feat, and especially in recent years. So that'll be a game between currently the number 8 seed in Division 1, Region 1. They're traveling to the number 1 seed in Division 1, Region 1, which is Menor. Again, both teams have clinched playoff spots according to JoeIdle.com. Menor has actually clinched a top 8 spot. So no matter what happens for the rest of the year, they're hosting at least 1 playoff game, if not 2, depending on the results of the end of the year. All right, Noah, great work as always. We appreciate you there. Let's shift over to my cohort, my compadre, my colleague, Sean Duffy. He's going to do double duty again. With Josh out on assignment. He has a lot going on. He's going to be recapping the game for Josh between Hudson and Norgonia, and he's also gonna take care of one of the games of my conference, the game that he was at, which was Valley Forge in Lakewood. Sean, hope you drank some chocolate milk, took a breath. Take it away.
Well, thank you so much, Ed. And we'll start first in the National Division because apparently Josh tells me what to do and told me to start in the National. So we'll start there, and we'll start on a game that occurred on Thursday. The Bees of Brecksville traveling to take on the Comets of Solon. And Solon jumped out to a 6-0 lead, but then Jacob Ertovich, yeah, I'm going to mispronounce that every time, scored the first points for the Bees with a 9-yard touchdown run. That touchdown made it 7-0 in favor of the Bees. The score would remain that way until midway through the third quarter when the Bees' Nate Henniger hit Patrick Murphy for 55 yards to make the score 14-6 in favor of the Bees. Fast forward to the fourth quarter with 2 minutes remaining, down 21-19, Solon gets an interception and now has the ball with a chance to take the lead, only to fumble it, and the ball is picked up by the Bees, Zachary Aquila, and he returns it 35 yards for the touchdown. The extra point was good, making the final score 28-19 in favor of the Brecksville Broadview Heights Bees. They go on the road and beat Solon 28-19. Brecksville improves to 2-6 and 2-3 overall in conference. I'm sorry, 2-6 overall, 2-3 in the conference. Solon falls to 2-6. They are 0-4 in the conference. Speaking of playoffs, Brecksville currently sits at the number 19 position in Division II Region 6, while Solon somehow is at number 16 in the Division II Region 5 with a 2-6, 0-4 record. I'll defer to Ed to explain how that could work going forward. One of our spotlight games did occur on Thursday night, a rare Sports on Tap Thursday night football for all of our fans, where North Royalton traveled in to take on Twinsburg. Twinsburg traveled to take on North Royalton, and the Bears got out to a 7-0 lead over the Tigers, led by a heavy dose of running from Grady Baugh and Cam Saul. Baugh scored the first of the Bears' touchdowns. In the second quarter, after both teams exchanged interception, Bears quarterback Joe Kinney hit Mannix Wasco for a big 38-yard gain that set up a Kinney to Joey Calarco 3-yard touchdown. They attempted a 2-point conversion, but it was no good, and the score was 13-0, the Bears holding that lead at halftime. Twinsburg came out to play in the second half, though, as Joey Pollock got Twinsburg on the board with a 4-yard quarterback keeper to cut the Bears' lead to 13-7 with 7:55 remaining in the third quarter. North Royalton would still keep up the ground game as Grady Baugh would score his second touchdown of the game. With the 2-point conversion, the Bears would increase their lead 21-7 in the third quarter. Just before the end of the third, the Tigers would get another score by Zach Schobert, but that would be it as the Bears got a big old natty victory, 21-14 over Twinsburg on Thursday Night Football live from North Ridgeville, Ohio. North Ridgeville currently sits number 18 in the Division II Region 6, whereas Twinsburg is number 17 in Division II Region 5. My games that occurred on Friday had Wadsworth traveling in to take on Stowe. No Gavin Madigan, no problem for the Grizzlies. The other half of the powerful running back duo picked up the slack. Cooper Gray led Wadsworth to a 49-23 victory with 195 yards and 4 touchdowns on the night. 180 of those yards came in the first half. His 4 touchdowns came on runs of 30, 27, and then 72. Wadsworth averaged 11 yards per rushing play in this game. Bryson Hall went 10-14 for 246 yards and a touchdown to Luke Maddox. Stowe's Jacob Harrington had himself a night throwing the ball and was one of the few bright spots for the Bulldogs. He finished the night with 335 yards and 3 touchdowns, including an 80-yard touchdown to Andrew Rickelman on the second play of the game. He also threw touchdowns to Logan, Diaja Marino. That's as best as I'm going to be able to get that name.
Good attempt.
And Jack Millett. Yeah, last week's guest, Calix Lamp, led the Grizzlies with 4 receptions for 97 yards, but unfortunately no touchdowns. Wadsworth improves to 8-0 in the season. They are 5-0 in the conference with a 49-23 victory over Stowe. Stowe falling to 2-6, 1-4 in the conference. Wadsworth currently sits at the number 4 position in the Division II Region 6, whereas Stowe is number 23 in the Division II Region 5. Our second spotlight game of the week came out of the Natty Division. Josh wasn't there. I didn't go. You know who we sent? We sent good old Robbie T to watch the Nordonia-Hudson game, and I'm going to let you tell him all about this fantastic game between Hudson and Nordonia.
Well, thanks, Sean. Appreciate that. And this was a great game. I mean, it was a physical game, one we expected in the Suburban Natty. But Hudson, they started the game with the ball, and they took their opening drive deep into Nordonia territory. But it ended with a 23-yard field goal by kicker Brad Maciella. Hudson, one thing they did was they took a lot of time off the clock. They were in no rush. They were looking to the sideline, changing their play. A lot of time went off the clock, and they had a solid drive. Then Nordonia, they would get the ball, had a great drive that led to a running back, Rocco DiLorenzo, touchdown run from 5 yards out. It was 7-3 Nordonia. Then Hudson, they would answer back. This time it was a 33-yard pass from quarterback Nathan Judy to wide receiver Louis Castellaren. Hopefully I said that right. Before the half, the Knights, though, they would score on an 11-yard run by Liam Kuntz. The 2-point conversion was good, and at halftime, this game was 15-10, so a close game that kind of went either way in this one, back and forth. Nordonia, though, they went. Now we'll go kind of skip to the fourth quarter here. It was 22-10 Nordonia in this one. But Hudson, they wouldn't give up in this one as quarterback Nathan Judy. He had a huge performance. He actually had a solid drive for Hudson, and he fumbled the ball. Nordonia had it, and you could see the momentum shift. Well, the Hudson defense made a huge play as they intercepted Nordonia and gave the ball right back to Hudson. Then it was a big play and a nice drive by Nathan Judy as he would run it in from 2 yards out. Hudson had a great drive after that interception. It was on the Nordonia side of the football field, and what a great job by Hudson not to fold in this one. They tried for a 2-point conversion and they didn't get it, but with 54 seconds left in this one, it was Nathan Judy. He would run it in again from 2 yards out, and then they went for a 2-point conversion and did not get it. And now Nordonia trailed with 54 seconds. It was 23-22. They needed only a field goal, but Hudson's defense was really impressive in this one. And the Knights, they couldn't get close enough as time expired. Hudson with a 23-22 win in this one. What a great game all around, played by really both teams. It could have went either way, but you had some defensive turnovers, some great stops there, but the offense was really firing on most all cylinders. Some really good drives. No big plays other than the 33-yard touchdown from Judy. But for Nordonia, Rocco Di Lorenzo had a touchdown, Liam Kuntz, and Kylan Osprey had a touchdown for Nordonia. For Hudson, it was Nathan Judy. He rushed for 100 yards, or actually he had 100 yards passing and a touchdown. He had 20 rushes for 147 yards and 2 touchdowns in the game. And it was Louis Castellaren. He had 5 catches, 70 yards, and a touchdown. Great job, really, by both teams. This was a well-coached and a well-played game all around by both teams. But again, Hudson getting the big win there, 23-22 in our spotlight game, in our featured game there in the Suburban Natty.
Yeah, that was what a great game, Rob. Sorry, you're the one that was covering that one. I misspoke earlier. Just speaks to the 2 games we covered from the Natty. I mean, both really good games, obviously. And as Sean likes to mention, the mojo that you get from we're coming on Sports on Tap, Calix Lemp, getting done a touchdown, but still almost 100 yards on the through the air on 4 receptions. Solid showing there. This overall a really good showing from the Natty as we've come to see what they've done. I mean, Wadsworth obviously has put the work in, defeating both Nordonia and Hudson up to this point. And Hudson, they've shown that they are a very resilient team. I mean, I think we knew that, but tell you what, Nordonia just hard luck losses the last 2 weeks. And you obviously can't question the efforts. Just sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way, and that's 2 weeks in a row. But we know anything about Coach Fox and Nordonia. They'll have no issues getting back up there and trying to get a win in Week 9. So great job on the Natty, filling in for Josh. Let's get back over to Sean for the American Conference, part of the Suburban League.
All right, thank you guys so much. We'll jump back in to cover the other half, see how the other half lives in the Suburban League, the American Division. Starting on Thursday as well, as we had a couple of games played on Thursday. Copley travels in to take on Barberton. And Copley, after this game was tied at 20 going into halftime, rides a 28-point third quarter to notch a 48-27 victory over the host Magics in Week 8. Copley quarterback Gabriel Mansell finished the game 19 of 23 with 425 yards passing, 5 passing touchdowns. Oh yeah, he also also ran one in. So he was definitely had himself a great game off the back of last week's performance as well. Wide receiver Scooby Stanford, 6 receptions for 180 yards. 3 of those receptions are for touchdowns. Wide receiver Jacob Kukowski, 5 receptions, 106 yards, 1 touchdown. Wide receiver Andrew McKnight, 3 receptions, 92 yards, 1 touchdown, all for the Indians. They did it through the air all night. Not to be outdone, Copley running back Tony Cox also chipped in with a rushing touchdown as well, as Copley ran away with this game in the third quarter. Barberton running back Sean Wright did finish the game with 100 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns of his own, but it wasn't enough. Barberton wide receiver Ethan Key also had a touchdown catch from Aiden Tritt, but as I mentioned, it was not enough as Copley goes into Barberton and blows the doors off of Barberton, 48-27. Copley improves their record to 4-4. They are 3-2 overall in the division. Barberton 1-7, 1-4 in the division. Copley currently sits number 10 in Division 3, Region 10, whereas Barberton sits number 23 in Division 2, Region 6. Highland played host to Revere, and they capped off their home finale with a dominating 41-0 rout of the visiting Revere Minutemen. Highland running back and guest tonight, running back Casey Myser, racked up 324 yards and 4 touchdowns. Those 4 touchdowns allowed him to break the school record for single-season touchdown records that was set by Jake Rogers in 2018 with 28. He has now 29 touchdowns. And, oh, by the way, we still have 2 weeks of the season left for Casey Myser to continue to add on to that fantastic record-breaking season that he's having. Quarterback Dylan Borla did have a touchdown pass in the game as well to Nick Dubkowski. Highland running back Dylan Lazar also had a rushing touchdown. You know, Revere did put up a fight early, but the Highland defense was not having any of that as they held Revere to 25 yards rushing on the night and 48 yards passing for the total of the game. Highland's defense is no joke. Their rushing game is no joke. They are a buzzsaw. Highland currently the number 2 position in Division 2 Region 6 behind one and only Avon. Revere currently sits number 7 in Division 3 Region 10. They also have aspirations for playoffs. Moving on to our Friday night games, and Aurora rolls into Kent Roosevelt and rolls over the Rough Riders, 49-14 victory. Aurora jumped out to a 49-0 lead at halftime and obviously never looked back. Aurora running back Lucas Manderbach notched 3 rushing touchdowns on the night. Aurora running backs Cole Walton, Ben Lukasik, and Tommy Tardibini also scored touchdowns on the night from the ground. And Aurora quarterback Ryan Dwyer had 113 yards passing and 1 touchdown. That touchdown to wide receiver Zach Panetti, who grabbed a catch for 41 yards for a score. Aurora currently sits number 2 in Division 3 Region 9. They are 8-0 and 5-0 in the conference. And Kent Roosevelt falls to 2-6, 1-5 in the division. They currently sit number 22 in Division 3 Region 9. Our final game out of the America Division had Cuyahoga Falls travel into Talmadge, and Talmadge gets a dominating 48-7 home victory against the Black Tigers in Week 8. Talmadge quarterback Ryan Lovelace had 3 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown in this game. Wide receivers Caleb Reef-Snyder, Robbie Reed, Brady Hedrick, each catching a touchdown pass for the Blue Devils. Now, on the flip side, defensively, Talmadge defensive backs Reef-Snyder, Reed, Pat Marcoux, and Caleb Hendrick each had interceptions for the Blue Devils. Marcoux and Hendrick, they had pick sixes in this game as well. Talmadge running back Ricky McLean had a rushing touchdown as well. Cuyahoga Falls' lone score came on a Nick Robinson touchdown as Cuyahoga falls to Talmadge 48-7. Cuyahoga Falls is 2-6. They are 1-5 in the conference. They currently sit number 25 in Division 2 Region 5. Talmadge is now 5-3, 3-2 in the conference. They sit at number 13 in Division 3 Region 9. The Suburban League Player of the Week nominee, none other. Listen, you got to win a big game, you get big things. Hudson quarterback Nathan Judy finished 8 of 17 passing, 100 yards, and 1 passing touchdown. But on the flip side, he also carried the ball 20 times rushed for 147 yards, and chipped in 2 touchdowns as well. Now, that's good enough for our Raymond Felton Player of the Week nominee from the Suburban League. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we got on tap. See what I did there? For Week 9 in the Suburban League. Starting in the National Division, we have Twinsburg traveling to the Bees to take on Brecksville. North Royalton travels to take on Hudson. Nordonia travels in to take on Stowe, and Solon will travel down to Wadsworth to take on the Grizzlies. In the American Division, we have Barberton and Aurora. Throw the record books out of there. That's a really good rivalry in the American Division. Revere travels to take on the suddenly hot Copley Indians team. Cuyahoga Falls will have to go and play. Will host Highland in that game in Week 9, and Talmadge will travel to take on Kent Roosevelt. Guys, that's all I got from the Suburban League. I double duty, and I still have another recap to go. I need overtime for this, Rob. Can you give me some overtime?
Yeah, I'll give you some. I'll make sure I put it in the bottom line.
Easy as that.
It's easy as that, man. I mean, he's putting in the work.
Well, what's time and a half? What's time and a half times 0 again? 0, right? So I mean, it costs him nothing to say yes, but
Sean's expensive, man. I mean,
he's not cheap.
He's not cheap, guys.
Sean, I think it's a broken record here, but we're obviously steamrolling towards the towards the game next week between Aurora and Highland, and we're obviously neither one of those teams is going to look past their current opponent. And I'm sure I'm 100% positive that Casey Myser will agree with that. Their focus is going to be strictly on Cuyahoga Falls here. But the big game, as you mentioned, I think the big game here is Revere and Copley. As you mentioned, the Indians have won 3 in a row in conference play, and Revere they are currently 2-3 in conference play. But they've played all the big boys so far. They have already played Aurora. They've already played Highland. And they had a tough one against Talmadge. For Revere, we've talked about next step games that they need to win, and I would say the rest of the season is like that now. Now that you're past a team like Highland, which, give them your best shot, Highland is just on another level. But Copley and Kent Roosevelt and Barberton, Barberton was a team that was a stick in their craw for quite a while there, and even though Barberton is down from a record perspective, they still gave him a really good game. But I credit Revere for being able to get over that hump. See if Revere can do the same thing against Copley here, against a very good and a very hot Copley team.
Yeah, I mean, suddenly, listen, Copley was good, has been good all year. I think they got into obviously the two big monsters in this division are Aurora and Highland. That goes without saying. Revere, Talmadge, and Copley have been interesting this year to follow. Because I really do think that Revere and Talmadge are essentially the same team to a certain extent. They both do the same things very well. They can throw the ball around the yard, but they can also run the ball. Copley is an X factor to me, because when I went and saw them against Cuyahoga Falls, it was very clear they were running the ball, and they were they still threw the ball. They had some pass touchdowns, but they were not dependent. And then last week, they end up throwing the ball all over the yard, and the running game was almost like, secondary. Not to say it wasn't an emphasis, because I'm sure it was, but it's just when you look at stats and you look at numbers and you say, okay, one week they're scoring 4 or 5 touchdowns by one player on the ground in one half of football, again, against Cuyahoga Falls, not exactly, world beaters themselves by record, but still putting up then the next week against a Barberton team who, again, that game was, I have to say, that game was tied 20-20 going into halftime. So it wasn't as if Copley went in and, just wrecked them from the start. This was a tough fought game, but they got going, and they got going through the air, which was surprising to me. Not that they couldn't do it, but it just seemed like when I saw them against Cuyahoga Falls, they leaned heavily on that run. And most coaches will say, if I can run the ball, I'm going to do that because I control the pace of the game. But when you got a hot quarterback like Gabriel Mansell, who I saw play very well in that game against Cuyahoga Falls and had his own night, and Cuyahoga really did impress me. I mean, look, the guy had almost 400 yards passing in a game. He had 6 touchdowns total. So, I mean, he played very, very well. He played out of his head, but again, you wonder what team is showing up to play Revere next week, and that's something that I think is going to keep the coaching staff up late at night, because now it's not just we got to stop the run, we got to stop Tony Cox, we got to stop those guys. No. We also have to be very careful to not make them one-dimensional, because they're good either way when they go one-dimensional. You almost want to balance the attack so you can attack them a little bit. Revere, on the flip side, they need to continue to play their game. They need to continue to play tough, hard-nosed defense, and they need to be able to go back to the beginning of the season where they are putting so much pressure on opposing quarterbacks that they were getting those turnovers, those timely turnovers that set up their offense to go in and score, so they could score in bunches. And I think they've gotten away from that. Again, playing the Auroras, playing the Talmadge, playing the Highlands. If you could do that against those teams, you're going to be very successful. But those teams are too well coached to have that happen, so you don't get those bunches. Whereas I think Revere can do that. So it's going to be interesting. I think that's a sneaky good game in the American this week is the Revere Copley game.
I agree. And as you mentioned, Copley, their only losses right now, are to Highland and Aurora, a 6-2 Amherst team, and a very close one against Twinsburg, who is probably better than their record is. Twinsburg's 3-5, but they have very good players, very good coaching staff. That was a kind of a coin flip back in week 3. All right, Sean, we'll give you a little bit of a break. We'll check back in with you here shortly. But let's shift over to the Cleveland West Conference. And week 8 in the Cleveland West Conference, all of these games, except for the one that Sean went to, were played Thursday night. So the Cleveland West Conference did some work early. So we're going to start with Bay Village versus North Olmsted. This was a defensive battle. Bay took a 7-0 halftime lead on a 61-yard touchdown run by junior running back Rocco Hereditario. And then Rockets kicker Jackson Klopfer connected from 20 yards out to push the lead to 10-7. But Northern Olmsted, they answered with an 18-yard touchdown by quarterback Tommy Horsfall to cut the lead to 10-7. Then Lawrence Stanley intercepted Michael Farrell from Bay. That was Farrell's only pass of the game, and unfortunately went as a pick. And then Tanner Thorne put the Eagles on top 14-10 with a touchdown plunge. But that result holds up. North Olmsted wins their third game in the conference. They are 3-2 in conference play now after going winless in the non-conference, and the Eagles are flying high right now. North Olmsted senior quarterback Tommy Horsfall, he had 17 carries for 86 yards and a touchdown. He also passed for 87 yards. North Olmsted senior wide receiver / running back Michael Passafiumi, he had 7 rushes for 40 yards. He also caught 2 passes for 17. And Bay Junior running back Rocco Hereditario finished with about 120 yards on the ground and a touchdown. After that long run he busted out, the North Olmsted defense, as we've seen all year, they've played very tough defensively, and today in this game was no different. North Olmsted wins 14-10. North Olmsted improves to 3-5 overall, 3-2 in the Cleveland West Conference. The Eagles are number 15 in Division II, Region 6. And I can tell you, I'm not sure a whole lot of people thought that they'd be climbing themselves back into playoff contention. But with 3 wins in the conference, they are in playoff position as we speak. They will host Valley Forge next week. Bayville, which we'll get to. Bay drops to 4-4 overall. They are 2-3 in conference play. Right now, they sit at number 13 in Division 4, Region 14. According to JoeIL.com, the Rockets control their own destiny. All right, the next game on the docket, Buckeye took on Normandy, one of the best defenses in the conference against one of the best quarterbacks in the conference, and defense won in this one. The Buckeye Bucks forced a fumble on Normandy's first possession, and then Ryan Wilhelm punched in from 1 yard out. Wilhelm turned around on the next play from scrimmage. He intercepts Normandy senior quarterback Elijah Gray, and that led to an 8-yard touchdown pass from junior quarterback Turner Dolata to senior tight end Trey Weidenmeyer. Elijah Gray wasn't going away, though. He found Austin Simmons for a 54-yard touchdown pass to give the Invaders some hope. It was 21-6 at the end of the first quarter. And then Buckeye scored on 5 more possessions before Normandy got back on the board. Romy Kettler had touchdown runs of 5 and 13 yards. Trey Weidenmeyer had a second touchdown catch, this one from 46 yards from Turner Dolata. Troy McCann had a 14-yard touchdown run, and junior kicker Braden Bonnet hit from 32 yards out to wrap up that run. Normandy's Mario Stewart then scored a touchdown pass of 36 yards from Elijah Gray. But add all that up, Buckeye gets a 59-13 victory, a very dominant performance on the offensive and defensive lines. Senior running back Troy McCann, he only needed 15 rushes to get 100 yards and a touchdown. With his touchdown, that was his 55th rushing touchdown. He now holds the school record for the most in Buckeye Bucks history. Credit Albert Grindle and the Medina County Gazette for the Medina County football history there, but Medina Gazette as a whole. Senior tight end Trey Weidenmeyer, he caught 2 passes for 54 yards and, you guessed it, 2 touchdowns. He has 20 career touchdown receptions. He is now in the top 10 of career touchdown receptions in Medina County history. Turner Dolata, he completed 3 of 4 passing for 68 yards and 3 touchdowns. You complete 3 passes, they're all touchdowns. That's efficiency personified. Credit the Buckeye O-line. They helped the Bucks rush 48 times for 437 yards. That is insane. Credit the Buckeye defense. They held the Invaders to negative 28 yards rushing. Negative 28 yards. Let that marinate for a minute there. Normandy, senior quarterback Elijah Gray completed 10 of 30 passing for 217 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Mario Stewart, he caught 5 of the passes for 111 yards and a touchdown. And Austin Simmons caught 5 passes for 106 yards and a touchdown for the Invaders. Buckeye improves to 7-1 overall, 5-0 in Cleveland West Conference play. They are number 4 in Division III Region 10, and according to JoeIdle.com, they have clinched a playoff spot. Normandy drops to 2-6 overall, 1-4 in the conference. They are number 13 in Division I Region 1, and they control their own destiny for a playoff spot. All right, last and certainly not least, for me at least, Rocky River took on Westlake, and tell you what, Rocky River is getting everyone's best shot. They squeaked by North Olmsted last week, and Westlake, they gave them everything they can handle. In fact, Westlake opened up the scoring on a 3-yard touchdown run by Jake Ostrowski. Returning quarterback Ryan Taylor for the Pirates, coming back from injury, he then scored on a 15-yard rushing touchdown. Then that was followed by a 13-yard rushing touchdown by Joey DeSalvo, and that gave the Rocky River a 12-7 lead. Last week's Raymond Felton State Farm Player of the Week, kicker Stephen Kane for Rocky River, he hit from 44 yards out. That gave the Pirates a 15-7 lead. Then Taylor found Cam Balkowski from 13 yards out for a touchdown and a 21-7 halftime lead. Ostrowski then hit pay dirt for a second time for the Demons to cut the deficit to 21-13. Then Ryan Taylor hit DeSalvo for a 59-yard touchdown to restore the Pirates' lead to 28-13. Sam Boucheri for Westlake, he wasn't done. He scored from 5 yards out to cut the lead to 28-19, but unfortunately for the Demons, they could get no closer. Rocky River wins 28-19. For Rocky River, quarterback Ryan Taylor, he completed 10 of 21 passing for 169, 2 touchdowns. He also had 10 carries for 106 yards and a touch. Joey DeSalvo, 12 carries, 59 yards and a touchdown. He also had 1 reception for 59 yards and a touchdown. Cam Balkowski had 2 receptions for 31 yards and a touchdown. For Westlake, Sam Boucheri, 14 of 20 passing, 181 yards. I'm almost done, bud. 129 yards and a touchdown. Jake Ostrowski, 18 carries, 74 yards from 2 touchdowns. And William Burfeld, 4 receptions for 84 yards. Rocky River moves to 7-1 overall, 5-0 in the conference. They are number 3 in Division III Region 10. They've clinched a playoff spot. Westlake is 2-6 overall, 0-5 in the conference. They're number 20 in Division II Region 6. All right, let's shift over. Sean Duffy has the final SOT feature game of the week between Valley Forge and Lakewood.
Thank you, Ed. And yes, I made my glorious return to Lakewood, Ohio to watch the Rangers versus the visiting Valley Forge Patriots. And I got to say, the weather was much improved from the last time I was in Lakewood. The Valley Forge traveled in to take on Lakewood for our spotlight game, and a standout performance from Cam Wadsworth would lead the Patriots to a surprising 42-21 victory on the road against Lakewood. As mentioned, Cam Wadsworth was the man for the Patriots, scoring 4 rushing touchdowns on the night. 3 of those 4 coming in the first half. Valley Forge running back Kawanta Houston also ripped off a 66-yard touchdown run in this game, and running back Evan Tapp also had a rush TD as well. If you're kind of getting the theme for Valley Forge, it's that they use a lot of running backs because they use what I can only describe as a 1920s wing T type of offense. In fact, it was commented to me during halftime that when I'm shooting Valley Forge's offense, I should shoot in a black and white filter to give it the auspice that we're watching something from the 1920s. But again, they also ran it to perfection most times. Valley Forge's defense did make it extremely difficult on Lakewood's offense, forcing 3 turnovers in the game. 2 of those were interceptions by Avery Holt, and all of them leading to touchdowns for the visiting Patriots. As mentioned, Lakewood quarterback Avery Holt did have 2 touchdown passes in this game, also 2 crucial interceptions. His touchdown pass, his first one was a 60-yard touchdown toss to wide receiver Jacob Stoll, and his second was a 5-yard touchdown pass to Jalen Chappell. Lakewood running back I did not put his name on here, Manny Serrano, did score on a very, very, very bruising run late in the fourth quarter, but unfortunately it was too late as Valley Forge improves to 3-5. They are 2-3 in the conference with a 42-21 victory over the Lakewood Rangers. Lakewood falls to 4-4. They are 2-3 in the conference. Right now, Valley Forge sits at Division II Region 6. Sits at number 17 in Division II Region 6, and Lakewood sits at number 16 in Division II Region 6. So if things kind of play out these next 2 weeks, Ed, we could be seeing a tiebreaker situation coming in to define this. And lo and behold, I believe Valley Forge would hold the tiebreaker in head-to-head.
And if we talk about from a conference perspective, absolutely. It's a logjam right now in the Cleveland West Conference. We have 3 teams that are sitting at 2-3. One team is Normandy's 1-4. Westlake's still looking for their first win, and then next week is gonna be the big one. In fact, let's go through what we got going on next week for the Cleveland West Conference. Sean, great job as always with your coverage, and I appreciate you taking care of Valley Forge and Lakewood. As you mentioned, Valley Forge, when they have that wing T going, they are extremely tough to stop. It's just a matter.
I didn't know who had the ball for the first 6. I didn't know who had the ball until the play was over. That's
insane, right?
A lot of these. Yeah, I assumed it was either the up back or the jet back, but I had no idea until the play was over.
Yeah, when you're a defender against a wing T, it is true assignment football. If you are assigned to the dive back, you have to have the dive back. Don't matter if he's got the ball, you got to hit him. Because if he he has the ball, great. If he doesn't have the ball, that's fine. Same thing with pitchman and the pitchman and the quarterback. That's probably the only time you're not going to get called for roughing the passer, because you can always you tell the ref, I didn't know he had the ball. Like that's how it was when I was starting, at least. I hit the quarterback way more than I should have, probably. And they still ran for 300 yards on us. So what are you going to do? So let's breaking down week 9. Lakewood will travel to Bay Village. That's going to be a great game. That's a battle of 4-4 teams, 2-3 in the conference. So there's some computer points on the board there for both of those teams. Westlake will take on Normandy. Westlake's looking for their first conference win. Normandy certainly has a lot to say about that. We'll see 2 great quarterbacks in Sam Brasheri and Elijah Gray in that matchup. Valley Forge will take on North Olmsted, and I think this game is going to be done in about an hour and 15 minutes. Given how much each of those teams run the ball. North Olmsted, their defense has been very good the entire year. They really haven't. There hasn't been too many teams that they've gotten completely wrecked by. I think the lone exception of that is Buckeye earlier in the year in North Ridgeville, but everyone else, I was looking at the wrong thing. North Ridge was the only team that actually wrecked them, and that was the first week of the year. Their defense has been stellar this year, and now their offense is coming around too. So that's gonna be a great game there. And then Rocky River will take on Buckeye. That game will be played in your township. I can't wait for this game. We've seen some battles between Rocky River and Buckeye in the past when they were playing their crossover games in the Great Lakes Conference, when they were playing for the now defunct GLC championship game. The battles between Ben Barnes and the Beebe brothers those were stellar. And this year's edition with Ryan Taylor versus Turner Delata, Troy McCann versus Joey DeSalvo, Oren Grieve versus Trey Weidenmeyer, and that offense and defense. That's gonna be one of the best games this week. The player of the week, as Sean mentioned, had a great game, had an awesome game in our player in the featured game of the week. It's gonna be Cam Wadsworth from Valley Forge. He is the Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance Player of the Week nominee for the Cleveland West Conference. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we will be joined by record-setting running back, just as a junior, no less, record-setting running back Casey Myser from the Highland Hornets. He's going to join us, and then we'll do our Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance Player of the Week poll, and then we'll tell you where we're going for Week 9. This is Sports on Tap, and we will be right back.
Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is on every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Watch live on YouTube and make sure to subscribe. Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is presented by Raymond Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
Whether you're hosting a corporate event, wedding, conference, concert, or any other special gathering, our comprehensive range of services will exceed your expectations and elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
We've got the experience, the passion, and the beach to make your event a smash hit. Whether it's a romantic wedding, a lively sports venue, or a rocking high school dance, Troutland Entertainment has you covered. Contact them at 330-414-4261 or email them at troutlandent@gmail.com. That's troutlandent@gmail.com. Elevate your brand with Mako Custom Printing. Mako Custom Printing specializes in creating high-quality spiritware, corporate apparel, and promotional products that make your brand stand out. Whether you need custom printing, graphic design, or an online store for your school or business, we've got you covered. Make a statement with Mako Custom Printing. Visit us at mako.com to start your custom printing journey today. That's MEHCO.com.
Welcome back to Sports on Tap. This is the high school football recap show presented
by Raymond Felton State Farm.
State Farm Insurance.
It
happens every time during the.
That was perfect. But we want to thank Raymond Felton State Farm for being a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap's high school football coverage. And now joining us is Casey Myser, the running back for the Highland Hornets. Casey, thanks for taking time to join us here tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me.
I mean, what a season it's been for you. Every time we're doing these recaps, I mean, you're, 200 yards and like 5 touchdowns. I mean, it's incredible the season you're having, and your team's just putting up some big numbers. Talk a little bit about the season you've had, and how have you been able to do it? Obviously your offensive line's opening the holes for you, but what's been so successful for you and the Highland Hornets this year?
Yeah, I mean, our whole team is just like, we're just really a bunch of dudes that really want it. I mean, like, even today before practice, all of our linemen coming early. They're watching film with the coach, getting ready for our games this week. Defense always watching film, always trying to get better. It starts up front. Those dudes they block great all the time. They just want to put someone on their butt 24/7. And that also comes with our tight ends and our wide receivers too. Wide receivers always blocking great. So, I mean, I have the big plays, but there's a lot of stuff that also comes with my big plays. A lot of people doing their jobs and their assignments correctly.
Absolutely.
Casey, again, I got to say, every week, because I split the Suburban League with Josh, and I come to him and I say, okay, we have these guys that we list for Player of the Week nominee, and since week 1, it's been like you and your quarterback and the guy from Aurora, and then we're like, well, because you guys are like the top 3, but you're always up there. So, I just want to say, number 1, thank you for taking the time. Number 2, it's really been impressive following your career, your season this year. And I know this past week was a big thing for you in breaking Jake Rogers' single season touchdown record. Can you talk a little bit about what that was like leading up, that week, knowing, you were right there and you needed those 4 touchdowns, and what it felt like to actually get that 4th touchdown, and how stoked were you and your team for that big accomplishment?
Yeah, I know. I didn't know I was that close to the record until like the week of. One of my coaches was like, "Hey, you're really close to this record," and my dad actually texted me too. He's like, "Hey, you're really close to this record." So, I mean, leading up to the week, my whole team kind of figured out about it, and they were like super like excited and really wanted me to get it. So they're always super supportive of me. And then when I ended up getting it, I was really exciting because it was just like a lot of hard work paid off. Like, it kind of just takes me back to my freshman year, being in the weight room with like, my grade, and then like some of the older like senior class. Like, I know like we are all talking about like our old like Instagram page, Primal Alpha Lifts, and like how we were all just in the weight room grinding all freshman, sophomore year, just trying to get better. So, I mean, like, breaking that record, it was a lot of hard work that paid off, and it was really exciting.
Casey, thank you for taking the time and joining us tonight. I ask a lot of players this. I mean, you guys got great players on Highland. I mean, your offensive lineman, you got Ryan Beck, and you got Ben Cognier, Garrett Phillips, Dylan Boyd. I mean, I can name almost anyone, Carson Noonan. But just kind of talk about what's it like playing with those guys, and especially with Ryan and Ben, who really helped you out, especially on the offensive line, getting a lot of those touchdowns this year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, not even just them. Like, I mean, we pretty much our whole line. They're great. Brady Bendi's my stepbrother. Carson Noonan, he's got big things coming. Same with Ryan and Ben and all of them. Josh Messina, he's a huge kid, works hard. And even Evan Faust, he's a sophomore, young kid, but I mean, he's works really hard. Plays both sides of the ball. So I mean, they're always blocking really hard for me. And so I mean, when I have those long runs, it all starts with them. I mean, they're opening up the holes for me, and I'm just running through them, doing the easy job. They're doing the hard work.
Casey, I got to go back and ask again about the culture that is Highland. I mean, Coach Gibbons has built that program to be one of the top in the area every single year. In the end, there's that expectation, and knowing that you've kind of grown up in that environment, and especially with Highland football. Can you talk a little bit about how that rolled into when you were young? You said a freshman coming in. Was that expectation there, and do you feel that you're kind of carrying that banner for the expectation going forward for Highland Hornet football?
Yeah, 100%. It's really become a standard now. Just like all the younger kids looking up to like the older kids. I mean, when I was a freshman, I was always looking up to like Lucas Stiles and all of them. They're always working super hard in the weight room. And I mean, it's all about the leaders in our team too. Like Garrett, I mean, he's making sure no one's skipping a rep. Same with like pretty much everyone in that speed strength class, whether it's senior, junior, like always pushing the younger kids below them, and even at the youth levels too. Like with like they all come to our games, and when we go to their games, they all get so excited and stuff too. So I mean, it's kind of just like one big family at this point. So I mean, keeping everyone in the program as long as possible, and yeah, it's just like it's one big family at this point. And Coach Gibbons is built that to be the standard.
Talking with Highland running back Casey Myser when I was so rudely interrupted by my laptop deciding wanted to crap out on me and just
that was classic.
You know, I would have rather my cat like shut it off with her paw instead of that happening.
You handed it off perfectly, though.
Not out of the realm of possibility. Casey, I at the risk of asking a redundant question, I'm going to try not to do that. You're a junior now. You made a pretty big impact even last year as a sophomore. What's been the biggest change for you between your sophomore and your junior year as it comes to either leadership, how the varsity game feels now as a junior compared to when you were a sophomore? What are some of the bigger changes that you noticed between last year and this year?
I mean, like, I definitely didn't want to mess up as a sophomore, but if I messed up as a sophomore, there was always that excuse like, oh, I mean, he's just a sophomore. Like, that's kind of expected to happen. Not that I would want to at all or try to, but I mean, as a junior, it's kind of expected. I'm, supposed to do my job all the time. And, people are kind of counting on me and like asking me the questions now. For when I was a freshman, sophomore, I was always asking like Evan Grant, like, hey, what am I doing? Or Johnny Silk, like, hey, what am I doing? What route am I running? So, I mean, those kids, those guys were always like really helpful to me. And I kind of just like want to be that guy to like the younger kids. Like if they want, if they don't know what they're doing on a play, like kind of coming to me and like, asking me what I'm doing, and not even just that, like even if they want to ride home, just like always be that comfortable guy that can always come up to and be like, hey, I need this, and I'll give it to them.
Casey, again, we talk a lot about how the Suburban League, especially the American Division, is kind of a meat grinder, especially when you look at the top where you and Aurora are. You guys are, you each have a game this week against another opponent, but you guys are on a so-called collision course to decide this division. What has been the mantra for your team going forward this year? Is it just literally just taking every opponent as they come, or do you kind of keep a weathered eye as to, you want to make sure Aurora is undefeated, so that way it's a big game coming week 10?
I mean, we know it's a big game, but our coach always tells us like, hey, like we got to be where our feet are. We gotta like focus on where we're at this week. So I mean, that's what we're doing. But we know Aurora is really good, and it's definitely a personal game for us this year because losing that one on senior night for the Suburban League last year, week 10, and it's definitely a personal game for me too because losing the ball on the 5-yard line when and I feel like I really let my team down. So I feel like that's a really personal game for me and our whole team this year too.
Speaking of your next opponent, you guys are taking on Cuyahoga Falls. You finished off your regular season slate of home games. I'm more than confident you're going to have at least one, maybe two more home games coming up in the playoffs, but we're not there yet. In the spirit of Coach Gibbons, we will focus on Cuyahoga Falls. I know you guys are in the opening stages of your prep work for the Black Tigers. What are some of the things that you notice that they do well that you guys need to focus that without giving too much away, of course? But what are some of the things that Cuyahoga Falls does well on tape?
I mean, to be 100% honest with you, offensive film is tomorrow, so I mean, like I haven't really watched.
Fair enough.
Me personally, I've been watching a lot of the Aurora film, so I haven't watched a whole lot of the Cuyahoga Falls film yet. But we do a film before every day of practice, and today was our defensive meetings and stuff. So offensive meetings are tomorrow. So I'm sorry, I don't have anything.
No worries.
Fine.
No worries. Well, obviously their record doesn't look great, but they're an opponent on your schedule, and obviously every game is an opportunity for even in a team in your position and a team in their position. What, again, without giving too much away, is there anything that you guys are specifically focused on for Cuyahoga Falls? I know you say you're watching Aurora tape, but anything for Cuyahoga Falls that maybe even if something you remember from last year that you got to watch out for this year?
I mean, Not really. I mean, we just got to go out there, play our hardest like we always do every Friday night. I mean, they're lining up against us. It's not like they're just going to give us the win or anything like that. We can't just go on thinking about Aurora. We have to line up and we have to play 48 minutes with these guys. And we know they're going to give us their best shot, and they're preparing for us all week. So I mean, we can't just like put it by them and start focusing on Aurora.
Yeah, and Casey,
And you finished both.
Oh, go ahead, Sean.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, you're finishing both these weeks on the road. For you as a player, does that change your preparation at all? Like game week, like just to have those on the road games, back to back. Like you gotta have to kind of get yourself mentally prepared to go. Obviously 2 Cuyahoga Falls and then 2 Aurora week. In back to back weeks. Is there anything you change in your workout or anything in your routine?
I mean, me personally, I kind of like away games. I kind of like going into the other place or the other team's stadium and kind of just like, I don't know, it's a different environment. So I haven't played there since I was a freshman. I didn't play a whole lot when I was a freshman, so it's definitely gonna be a cool environment. My first time doing it, so nothing really changes for game plans. Kind of just like making sure everything's in my bag. Like don't forget my shoulder pads are limited.
Yeah. Hey, you definitely don't want to forget the shoulder pads, but I don't know if you need them, considering it's been awfully hard to catch you this season. So I mean, it may be weighing you down, Casey. I don't know.
Maybe.
No, what's it been like playing with a lot of, you obviously in the Highland system, a lot of you guys have played together a long time together. You talked about the youth and how the kids look up to you. I mean, you were probably one of those kids at one of those points where you're like, wow, I want to play football for Highland. What's it been like to play with kind of all your friends growing up, whether it's through youth and all the way up to now your junior season? What's it been like playing with all the same guys, going through the Highland program here?
Yeah, it's definitely special, especially seeing all these guys grow up. We're all growing up together. We always talk about like staying together as a family. Like obviously, one of my best friends, Grady, he went over to Hoban, and that was kind of hard. But I mean, at the same time, like I mean, it's his path, it's what he wants to do. I completely respect it. But like definitely seeing all these guys grow up, it's really nice. Like playing with all these guys when I was younger in youth, playing at Greenleaf, that's our youth field, and then like just come watching all these older guys play and like getting high fives from them and just like seeing like I don't know, just like seeing us all grow up together is really, really special. And now a lot of us playing at the varsity level now, it's kind of cool to like see how it all worked out.
And it worked out. It has. Highland has put themselves into the echelon of a great program, not just a great team that has a cycle of a good team every 3 or 4 years. You guys are in and out a great team even before you got there, and you observe greatness, and you're in the midst of creating it for yourself. Casey, thanks for taking the time to join us tonight. Good luck this week against Cuyahoga Falls, and then obviously, once that game and you can fully focus on Aurora, good luck against the Green Men. But appreciate you taking the time, and congratulations on your season so far. I know you got a lot more to go, and you got next year to boot, but we're looking forward to see what you do for the rest of this year.
All right, yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Casey.
Thanks, Casey.
Thanks, Casey.
That is Highland junior running back Casey Myser. He of 324 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. He broke the school record for most rushing yards in a single game and also most touchdowns in a year. And he's got 2 games left in the regular season, and he's probably going to score a few
more than 2 games.
He's probably going to score a few more. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They're guaranteed. Hold on. I think they're guaranteed at least 3 games, according to JoeIdle.com. I think they're at least guaranteed another 1 game. But I think just given how things are flowing, they're guaranteed 1 more game. We'll go from there. So great job by Casey and the Highland Hornets this year. They are on a collision course with Aurora in week 10, and I'm sure we'll talk about that more next week as well. All right, let's shift over to the Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance Player of the Week poll. And I'll see if Rob can want to take this away for us.
Yeah, let's see. Hold on 1 second, and I'll get this up here. Got to find it. Really nice.
Well, hurry it up, Rob.
I know. Actually, yes, the results are in, folks. Man, this was a close one. All right, let me get to. Well, I had to get it up on my screen, and we'll put it up there. But the Week 8 Raymond Felton State Farm Player of the Week, it was between Nathan Judy, the quarterback of Hudson, Jimmy Rossell, quarterback Olmsted Falls, quarterback Scotty Fox of Menor, and Cam Wadsworth of Valley Forge. And with over 462 votes, over 5,000 views, the winner goes to the Patriots, Valley Forge, Cam Wadsworth with 40% of the vote.
Yes.
Jimmy Rossell, a close 35.7%. Nathan Judy of Hudson at 18.8%, and Scotty Fox of Menor 5.4%, bringing up the Greater Cleveland Conference. And Cam Wadsworth, you know what? There was a lot of activity on our Twitter, and I'll tell you what, there's a lot of activity on YouTube tonight. We'll get to, there was a question on YouTube that I'll ask you guys here in a second, but give credit where credit is due. Cam Wadsworth of Valley Forge, a big win there, and the Raymond Felton State Farm Player of the Week goes to Cam Wadsworth of Valley Forge, and he will receive a nice package from Raymond Felton State Farm and a Sports on Tap, Mako, and Raymond Felton State Farm Player of the Week t-shirt that we will be sending this week out to you.
That 2 weeks in a row for the Cleveland West Conference, and a non-kicker.
Back to back.
And a non-kicker.
Back to back.
I'll tell you what,
back.
Olmsted Falls representing there. I thought, I mean, it was close. It was neck and neck, and actually Hudson was right there, but they dropped off a little bit. So I thought Olmsted Falls, you know, their fans are always right there. I thought they were gonna pull it off.
If you want to send
Gotta tell you, I don't always agree whenever a Suburban League player doesn't win it, but Cam Wadsworth's performance last week was really impressive.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was just really impressive. Yeah, and not only that, he also played both ways and had some serious he had a bunch of tackles, and I believe he came up with an interception or a fumble recovery, or one of the two, on the defensive side of the ball too. So, but again, congratulations to Cam for his Raymond Felton State Farm Sports on Tap Player of the Week package.
Now, before we leave, Ed, and go to another subject, we did have a comment that asked what our thoughts were on Wadsworth and the freshman quarterback that they have leading the Wadsworth team this year.
Well, I think we talked with Coach Todd last week, and even Felix Lemp about Bryson Hall, and I mean the poise that he has shown to lead I shouldn't say lead. I mean, you have to be a leader to be a quarterback in any team, but be a freshman on a team like Wadsworth, where they've had some absolute studs at quarterback over the last 20-some years, going all the way back to Clint Cochran in the early 2000s to Joey Boffman most recently, who was the Mr. Ohio for football in years past. For Coach Todd to trust a freshman with the ball in his hands to distribute it to all the players and get everybody moving in the same direction, that's the highest compliment you could possibly obtain, especially when you're talking about Division II, a borderline Division I football team, which is what Wadsworth is. They bounce between Division I and Division II pretty regularly. Not even Menor usually starts with quarterbacks as freshmen. Scotty Fox got some time as a freshman, splitting with Jacob Snow, but even Todd Arunas didn't play as a freshman. Ian Kipp didn't play varsity that much as a freshman, except for mop-up duty. And then they, of course, led their teams for 3 straight years after that. This guy's doing it as a freshman. Not only that, he's shown moxie of what you haven't seen. Touchdown passes in Hudson and Nordonia, leading final 2-minute drill drives, winning game, throwing touchdown passes in overtime. That is such a great move by Coach Todd to know that he can trust a freshman to make the plays and make the right decisions, and the sky's the limit for him as long as he stays healthy.
Absolutely.
I think the big thing for Bryson Hall and the Wadsworth Grizzlies is, one, he's not the reason he's not the only reason they're winning, but he's definitely a contributing part of it. And I think a lot of it speaks to his consistency. Each week, he's doing exactly what they're asking him to do, no more, no less. He's taking care of the football. He's limiting mistakes, and he's not. And I think even Coach Todd will agree. If he makes a mistake, he's not repeating those mistakes. And that's the biggest thing when you talk about athletics. It's not about making mistakes. It's about, can you correct the mistake and not make the same mistake again? And you're seeing a kid who last year was playing 8th grade football step into a varsity role when the lights are at this level the brightest, and he's being consistent across the board. And that's very impressive from a freshman. And again, it helps that he has those pieces around him. It helps that he has a seasoned team in front of him. You know, if it was just him and a bunch of freshmen and he was doing this, it'd be even more impressive. But he's got shoulders and shoulders to stand on to help him become a good quarterback. And that's exactly what we're seeing week in and week out. And for them to be where they are currently in the season, where they are currently in the playoff machinations, I think it's going to only benefit that individual, that student athlete going forward. I think you're going to see him take the next step. And, in a couple of years, we're going to be talking about Bryson Hall as, okay, in the same vein, we're talking about a Nolan Good. In the same vein, we talked about Scotty Fox. In the same vein, we talked about all those great quarterbacks that came through, Drew Aller,
Yep.
The other one from
Stoddard. I mean, yeah,
Danny Stoddard. Yeah.
Name of quarterbacks, and the lead
name
back.
A quarterback, yeah. I mean, and that's where I think we can see. So it's gonna be great that he's playing. But we also have to remember this kid is a freshman. Mistakes are gonna be made. Again, he's consistent, but I also am very, very impressed with the poise that he's shown in such a big moment. And I think it speaks to his character, and I think it speaks to his ability to process the offense. But I think it speaks to Wadsworth overall. They grew up in this system. They understand what's happening. So for a freshman to come in and play this way, it's not like he doesn't know this playbook. He probably has this playbook memorized and is probably helping the coaches. And that's the benefit of program building at this level, at the high school level, is you're now seeing those younger kids come in and be ready and more prepared to take on that ownership when it's thrust upon them. And I think you're seeing Bryson, take advantage of the opportunity. And I hope he does great. And it'd be a great story, for him to help the Wadsworth Grizzlies go on a deep playoff run. Again, once you get past week 10, it's it's a different brand of football. It really, really is, because now it's the best of the best. And, you got to have, and we see more seasoned quarterbacks have a tougher time in the playoffs than anyone else. So, I've been very impressed with the kid all year. And I know if Josh were here, he'd be singing his praises too, because we have this conversation almost weekly about how impressive this kid is.
Goodness, yeah, absolutely. So we'll look for Bryson Hall and the Wadsworth Grizzlies. They are going to finish their season at home against Solon and then North Royalton before they start their postseason play, most likely at home, depending on how those games go. Speaking of which, week 9 is upon us. We have one game locked in that we've had locked in probably for the last few weeks. Noah's going to go check that game out. He will talk about that game here shortly. And we were working through what we were talking about for the next few games, for the other 2 games that we're covering. But let's start with Noah, since we know exactly where he's going. Noah, where are you going?
Well, Ed, I'm going to shift gears this week. I will be heading from the Great Cleveland Conference to the Cleveland West Conference. I will be heading down the ropes to Buckeye for the Cleveland West Conference Championship game. The Rocky River Pirates at 7-1, taking on the 7-1 Buckeye Bucks. This game is going to be off the chain, folks, kind of like how it was at Nordonia and Wadsworth. I mean, this is all the makings that you want at a championship game between 2 teams that haven't seen each other in 3 years. That's the last time. It was a GLC championship game 3 years ago, and now it's almost crazy that it's another championship game between these 2 teams. And I can't wait to be down back at Buckeye on that grass field covering 2 great coaches going at it once again. And I just can't wait to cover this Cleveland West Conference Championship between 2 7-1 teams going at it.
And there's a pretty good chance those teams may see each other again in Division III, Region 10, depending on how things shake out. That is, as you mentioned, 2 great coaches, Coach Dennison. If He's one of the all-time winningest coaches in Medina County history. Going against Josh Wells from Rocky River. Just a tremendous pedigree from himself as well. So again, it's going to be the irresistible force against the immovable object. I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this. Here's what I'll say: the keys of the game here. If you're Rocky River, you need to find a way to force Buckeye use the passing game as their main form of offense. Not many teams have done it yet. We haven't really seen Turner DeLauda pass the ball more than 10 times in a game. And every time he passes the ball, he tends to throw a touchdown. He usually throws a touchdown to Trey Weidenmeyer. So if you're Rocky River, those are the guys you're trying to stop. If you're Buckeye, Ryan Taylor is the hub of the offense, but he's also got really, really good weapons in Josh Mammers, Oren Grieve, Joey DeSalvo. Taylor can do it through the air, and he can also do it on the ground. Defensively, both teams are really tough. So it's who can force a turnover. If you can score on defense, even better. But I think this might come down to whoever has the ball last might end up being the winner of this game. Both teams have tremendous kickers. Stephen Kane, obviously, Raymond Felton State Farm Player Insurance winner last week. He just hit a 44-yarder this past week. And Brandon Bonnet he's been injured most of the year, but now he's back and he's a difference maker. So you could probably even those two out. I don't think one's better than the other, quite honestly. So it's not very often you met your match with two good kickers in the Division III, and that's what they have here. All right. My apologies. That's enough breakdown there. I know we're running a little long here. Let's get to where we're going. Where else are we going, gentlemen?
Well, I believe Josh, even though he is not here, and he should be docked a full day's pay because he's not here.
No doubt.
He did mention in our pre-game discussion that he is going to be heading to the city of brotherly love, that is North Ridgeville, to watch the Avon Lake North Ridgeville game. He is going to cover that game. He's looking forward to seeing North Ridgeville and Avon Lake. I think this is probably a pretty good matchup. Sneaky good game there. Going to be interesting to watch and see if Avon Lake can get back to the winning ways versus North Ridgeville continuing to have another great season. So that's where Joshua Malachi Jeffy is going to be going. I'm just making up middle names now. And then yours truly is making a game time decision here. I wasn't sure if I was doing a game this week, but something piques my interest here. And you know what? I have not covered a GCC game this year, so I'm going to pick one. And I'm going to be heading out to Menor because I want to see Strongsville versus Menor.
Whoa!
I know we've covered Strongsville a couple times on this show. This year, Strongsville's been impressive, but I got a feeling that Menor is going to be the bridge
deal.
Too far for the Mustangs. I think I'm hoping it's a good game, but I'm preparing for a game where Menor, who I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is currently sitting at the number one position in D1 Region 1, correct?
Yes, sir. Correct.
That's saying something considering what's in Division 1 Region 1 with teams like St. Ed's and other teams in that region. So I'm interested to see this offense because I think Menor's been quote unquote down for the last couple of years, and I think we're seeing, as Ed said in the show, where we're used to seeing the Menor program, where we're used to seeing Menor come out and dominate. But also, I'm interested to see the Strongsville team because they've won 3 in a row, and they've been dominant on both sides of the ball. So who knows? We may get ourselves a shootout. I may be running up and down the sidelines at Menor. I may not. Me and the Cardinal may go out and have some hot chocolate. I don't know. Anything can happen when I go to Menor. But I know when I go to Menor, it's awesome. It's one of the best atmospheres you'll go to in high school sports. And I say that having been to a lot. But I'm looking forward to going to Menor and seeing Strongsville and Menor lock up in Week 9.
All right, so this is a recap. We have the Cleveland West Conference Championship game between Rocky River and Buckeye. That's where Noah's going to be. Josh is going to Avon Lake versus Ridgeville. Lots of points on the board there. and Sean's going to the de facto GCC championship game. The winner of that game will get a share of the conference championship. I guess it's the same thing with Rocky River and Buckeye, but I think we're pretty confident that that's going to be a championship game between Stroudsville and Mentor. So we'll see. Those are great games. Lots of points on the board all around there, and this is exactly what you want in Week 9 for high school football playoffs. All right, that's going to do it for our show. We want to thank you for listening, for joining us on our YouTube channel, on Spotify. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at SOT Podcasts, on Threads at SOT_podcasts. Check out our website this week. We're going to have all sorts of information. You're going to get our schedules, our standings, where teams are at, where their status is, according to joeidle.com. It's all going to be on our website for you. So we are a one-stop shop for everything you want to know about the Southwestern Conference, the Greater Cleveland Conference, the Suburban League, and the Cleveland West Conference. The Power 10 will be coming out later this week as well. We'll be getting ready to wrap that up. And then next week, it's going to be a huge show next week. We're going to go over Week 9, and we are going to go over playoff scenarios for the teams in this in our conferences. And really, with the exception of maybe a handful of teams, everyone's got a chance at the playoffs, and some playoff seeds are going to be determined. Some of them are going to be dependent on what needs to happen on other games, but we're going to have all that for you. We're going to have breakdowns for all your favorite teams next week, and we can't wait for it. For Rob Troutman, Sean Duffy, Noah Jacobson, Josh Jeffy, and also we want to thank Casey Myser, the record-setting running back from the Highland Hornets. The Hornets, a great program. We want to thank Coach Gibbons for getting Myser on with us.
Absolutely.
We want to thank you for joining the show for us tonight. My name is Ed Dick. One last shout out. My boys from a different state, Patriot, they got a big win against Gainesville, 35-20 in Prince William County down
Nice.
Virginia area. So good for Patriot there. Big win there. This is Sports on Tap's coverage of the high school football season, presented by Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance. Stick around for more word for our sponsors, and we'll see you on the other side.
See ya.
See you on the other side.
Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is on every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Watch live on YouTube and make sure to subscribe. Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is presented by Raymond Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
Whether you're hosting a corporate event, wedding, conference, concert, or any other special gathering, our comprehensive range of services will exceed your expectations and elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
We've got the experience, the passion, and the beach to make your event a smash hit. Whether it's a romantic wedding, a lively sports venue, or a rocking high school dance, Troutland Entertainment has you covered. Contact them at 330-414-4261 or email them at troutlandent@gmail.com. That's troutlandent@gmail.com. Elevate your brand with Mako Custom Printing. Mako Custom Printing specializes in creating high-quality spiritware, corporate apparel, and promotional products that make your brand stand out. Whether you need custom printing, graphic design, or an online store for your school or business, we've got you covered. Make a statement with Mako Custom Printing. Visit us at mako.com to start your custom printing journey today. That's MEHCO.com.